Patiently, and it's great to see, wow, I've got sound, so many of you here. And welcome to this session for Data, Trends and Stats, which is backed by popular demand. We ran the session in Seville in December, and it went down very well, so we're doing it again. My name is Patrick Richards. I'm from TerraVerde Sustainability, and you will have the pleasure during this session of watching me trying to juggle with microphones and clickers, and iPads, and probably dropping half of them. So do accept my apologies if that happens. But anyway, I'm regardless of my behaviour, I'm really delighted to be able to introduce you today to a fabulous panel that we have. That we've brought together, uniting experts from a variety both of geographies and of businesses, all of which impact on data. And that covers the government, it covers OTAs, it covers destinations, it covers hotels and investment, and it obviously covers both Asia and the European side. So we've got, I think, a really interesting broad perspective. And to introduce everybody, first of all, Külli Kraner, who is Head of Tourism Policy at the Estonia Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications. Welcome, Külli. Siew, who is Chief Financial and Sustainability Officer at Ascott Lodgings. Welcome, Siew. And Carlota Galvan, who is Head of ESG at Hotelbeds. Welcome, Carlota.
Thank you. And
finally, Takashi Yokaichiya, who is Head of Marketing and the Japan Country Manager at Rakuten Travel. So, welcome, Takashi. So, just to kick off with a few opening remarks from myself. I'm not sure we need to make a big introduction about data. It seems to have run through every session that we've talked about. And I won't kind of bore you with just looking at all of our stakeholders. But nevertheless, if we're going to retain credibility as an industry, giving data to all of these stakeholder groups is an absolute prerequisite. And what should that data look like? Well, standardized, comparable. It should make sense to our consumer groups. It should be aligned with the market. In other words, tourism can't act in a bubble. It should be aligned to the wider economy. And of course have smart targets. So how are we doing? So this is something I did in Seville and I've done here again, which is my flight coming here from London to Antalya. I checked out on Google the carbon emissions for a return flight, 358 kilograms of CO2e. I then went on to the UK DEFRA site for the same flight, 976 kilograms. So, ladies and gentlemen, rather a large delta there between those two numbers. Similarly, if you look at accommodation, we're at a full-service conference. Very often, when hotel stays are shown, they're shown as some kind of aggregated figure. Well, actually, this was one we did recently in Morocco, where the average stay for a hotel in Morocco, 58 kilograms per night. For this particular conference, 192 kilograms per night. So, again, if we're going to have credibility with our stakeholder groups, presenting them with consistent and comparable data just seems to be a challenge. And of course, now Randy mentioned it with the Green Deal and the CSRD in Europe. We also have the IFRS, which is the accountancy body in 140 different jurisdictions. They've set up the ISSB to align carbon accounting and financial accounting. So again, meeting the standards of all these is going to radically up the need for disclosure from all sorts of parties. And we have to ask whether we in travel and tourism are ready to give them the data that they need. And it's no point just bits of our industry doing something about it. We've got to really look at the whole of our industry. Again, if you look at the Glasgow Declaration, tourism declares a climate emergency, recently passed 1,000 signatories. which in itself is great, but juxtapose that against the size and the scale of our industry. 196,000 intermediaries globally, which is travel agents and tour operators, more than 1 million hotels, more than 1 million visitor attractions and tours and activities. So, you know, put against that sheer size of our industry, we have an awful long way to go. And how do we engage with all of that long tail? Of course, you know, that needs work and that needs data. And of course, now carbon and sustainability are increasingly becoming a competitive issue. I was talking to a hotel chain earlier this week who said to me, we expect distributor partners of ours to conform to our same values. So we will favour companies who have CSR policies in line with our own, with better availability of rooms and better availability of rates. So really it starts to trickle down through the value chain as a competitive issue. And of course, also in giving consumers smart choices, we need to be practical as well. So, you know, how do we give them the data points they need in order to be able to make smart choices? This was one I took in Seville again. You know, if you do the right thing on a fly-drive holiday and take an electric vehicle, the last thing you want to be doing is driving around trying to find a charging point when you get to your hotel. So hotels need to have charging points. And I ran a search on in Seville of the 1,560 returns on Booking.com over that period. Only 32 had EV charging points. So clearly there's a long way to go in infrastructure. And you know, how do some of the OTAs on this panel or even the destinations on this panel then be able to communicate that information? And it might not stop at EVs. It could be, you know, the recycling rates. It could be the amount of renewable electricity. It could be all of these data points. It could be food wastage. You know, how do those different data points get communicated to the consumer in a way that really encourages smart choices? So those are some of the themes that we want to explore. I'm going to stop now and really then hand on to some of my esteemed panelists here. And I'm going to ask Külli to come up to the stage.
Thank you. It's very nice to be back in Antalya second time. I was here last time 28 years ago and the place has been changing quite a lot, but it's really very nice to be back. And also this is my second time to participate in the GSTC conference. And this time I'm really delighted to share tourism data and trends from the perspective of Estonian government perspective. But first of all, sustainability is of course a key focus in Estonian tourism strategy 2022 to 2025. Our goal is that Estonia is a smart and sustainable destination. We are ranking 4th in the Sustainable Travel Index. Green destination and green key is a very intense and important topics right now in our tourism sector. But our plan is to set the measurable sustainable metrics in new tourism long-term vision, which is under development currently, and that's why we need better data. And when we're talking about data to measure the sustainability, then the challenges are the same for all other sectors in Estonia. I'm sure many of you know about Estonian digital society and economy. There's already a lot of automated and digital public services. For example, automated tax reporting. You can establish a company within less than 20 minutes online, and so on and so on. So basically, there is no need for us to to go to public offices anymore. Actually, I don't remember when I last time went to a public office to do something. It's all online. But for example, after creating a company within minutes, still starts the reporting and technical matters jungle. And we are not satisfied that the company needs to send the same data to different authorities, and the information is not machine readable format. So we want that business management would be as easy as business creation. And that is also why tourist companies have data quality and timeliness issues, which very intensively and critically turned out during the COVID pandemic, when actually we needed real-time data, but data wasn't there. There is a lot of administrative burden because same data is sent to different state authorities, and it means that there is excessive loss of time and money. So Estonia has set to a high priority to create a real-time business environment in which administrative operations and financial transactions together with non-financial information will be created and processed automatically in real-time and standardized digital form. So the aim is to make companies' life as easy as possible, so that instead of submitting reports, they can focus on business growth and increase of productivity. And here I would like to stress that in real-time economy, the validity of the data and protection of data protection rules remain the same, and the compliance becomes more effective, as the company itself can decide whom and what data it shares. So the data will belong still to companies. And we are working together with the private sector to analyze, prototype and develop real-time economy core solutions. To boost the transition to real-time economy, we are working in two lines: making technical possibilities possible in public and private sector, make needed regulation amendments, and communicate good examples and quick wins with impact. Horizontally, we are dealing with the transition to machine-readable and data-driven reporting, including the use of the XBRL-GL standard mostly. And from the public sector side, we are now analyzing the situation. What if all public sector organizations who set reporting obligations to enterprises have the same data taxonomy, use the same standardized reporting system, and the entrepreneur must not worry about whom and what data should be submitted. It is done as a background process. So in real-time economy, we are talking about different data exchange supply chains, but they all have three things in common. They are all generated somewhere. They are all shared to someone, for example, reporting to the state, and we need to think about how we can use the data even better. So, real-time economy is the standardization of business data. This data already exists. We produce a lot of data, but it gets stuck in different systems, and data isn't creating value. So we need to standardize data from the beginning. And when we have this standardized data, then what can we do about this data? It is already today possible for us, for an enterprise to submit the wage and labor statistic as one large data set to Statistic Estonia directly from its software in machine-readable and standard form. The next major step is disregard in the submission of social and income tax declarations, and also VAT declarations to the tax board. Next big step is to expand the pilot projects across the state authorities and have the reporting data set standardized for both financial and non-financial reporting. And the plan is to standardize the data sets of reports submitted by companies so that the company would have the opportunity to submit data to the state only once. So far it's not the situation. And very soon it will be possible even to send real-time annual reports. And by the end of this year, our statistics of Estonia will finish also taxonomy for accommodation companies' reports. So step by step, tourism is going to go also with this online and real-time economy concept. So very soon we hope that we have data-driven business solutions and decisions. And also more time will be there for companies to grow their business and to think about core subjects of business, not doing reporting. So very quickly, this is what we are planning to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Külli. And that's that project to be able to harmonise and standardise public sector reporting is a really exciting one in real time. So talking then of harmonising data, Siew Kim is going to speak next.
I'll speak from here.
So please carry on, Siew Kim.
Okay, hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Siew Kim. I come from Singapore. I flew a long way to be here. Yeah, so very excited to be here. It's an excuse for me to visit this beautiful city. It's my first time to Turkey, and Antalya is beautiful. Please don't tell my boss that I'm here because I want to visit the city. But really, I've been enjoying the conference very much. GSTC conference will be held in Singapore next year. Woo! And we have Singapore Tourism Board here. We are here to, they are here to welcome you to Singapore next year. Will you be there? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm, as Patrick has introduced me, I'm the Chief Financial and Sustainability Officer of the company that I'm going to share with you about. But the very common question I get is, what is a finance person doing in sustainability? How many finance person are here? Oh, one, nice. And well done, okay. 2 out of 1,000 participants here, right? And my simple answer to that question is always because we approve the capex, so it's better to get the CFO involved in sustainability. But that's a joke. I got involved in sustainability because in my previous role, I was handling a portfolio of hospitality real estate, and I've seen the importance of sustainability from the investor's perspective. And I took on this portfolio just last year. My boss says, "Since you're so passionate about sustainability, why don't you do this?" And when I take on this portfolio, it's really very driven by the fact that I see the importance of sustainability in business. Can I be totally honest with you? I was not trying to change the world, but I see that it's very important from the debt market and the capital market. So from the investment perspective, this is an important part of business. And I took on this portfolio, and I've been working on it, of course, together with Eric, my consultant from Greenville, Randy, who has been supporting us on our GSTC certification. And it's been a very exciting journey. Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to wear my hat as a finance investment person, share with you a little bit of our thoughts, and then we will have a conversation around, the few of us. So, return on sustainability. But before I do that, my clicker, okay. Clicker, yes. Before I do that, just let me share with you, where I come from, what I do, so that in the conversation you can appreciate the context I'm giving my comments. I'm part of CapitaLand Investment, which is a listed company in Singapore. We are a real estate company, and we have close to over 100 billion of assets under management. And in this organization, we do listed fund management, private fund management, as well as lodging management in all real estate class. So we have office, logistics, retail, and hospitality. And I'm part of the hospitality business, which is under the lodging management. Yeah, so I'm wearing that hat. And this clicker doesn't, okay, there you go. Okay, and so in this lodging management, I'm part of this company called Ascott. And I'm not sure how many of you know this business, but Ascott is a lodging business, so we provide accommodation for corporates, for leisure, and it's an apartment business. Yeah, so it's a service apartment business. We started out of Singapore with one property 40 years ago, and now we have 900 properties globally. But our presence is stronger in Asia Pac. So we have about 60 to 70% of our portfolio are in Asia Pac. But we do have properties in Europe under the Citadines brand. We have a property in Istanbul under Somerset, and more properties are coming up. So we are a lodging operator. So we manage properties for third-party owners as well as our own assets. So out of the assets that we manage, about 20% is owned by the company under the different business platform as a listed REIT as well as a private equity. But 80% we are managing the properties for third-party owners. And what that means is as an operator, I wear the hat as an owner. I think like an owner, as well as I wear the hat as an operator. So I understand the pain point of being an owner as well as managing the properties. So that's the lens that I wear. Okay, so when I took over a portfolio last year, we decided to embark on sustainability, of course, developing together with GSTC our Ascott Cares program. So Ascott Cares is a program under our sustainability framework that covers the 5 pillars of community, alliance, respect, environment, and supply chain. And I won't go into details, but we develop a program, we set targets that we want to achieve for our portfolio, and we took some of the criteria from GSTC because it's lodging operations and they have excellent criteria for the hotel sector, and we adopted that and set criteria and targets that we want to achieve on our whole portfolio. That's what we have done. Okay, so in financial world, there's always a question of what's the returns, right? When you put money on something, straight away you ask what's the returns. And the next question is what's the return on sustainability? So my business case for sustainability is really what we call the triple bottom line. In the past, it's always people and profit. And now we have another P, which is the planet. So the business case for sustainability really now is the triple bottom line. And the new language of sustainability is really what's the value of green to what's the return on sustainability? Is there a green premium, or now we're talking about a brown discount? If you're no longer green, you're actually getting a discount from your business. And from the capital market point of view, from the investors' world, it's very clear that if you do not meet your investors' expectation on ESG, which is environment, social, and governance, we may lose access to the capital markets. So investors are now choosing where to invest in based on your ESG achievements. Yeah? And I've been personally involved in raising debt that are green, a good premium, or I would say a greenium. When you issue a green debt, you get better rates, financing costs. Who wants cheaper interest rates? Yeah, all of us, right? Yeah, so being green helps that. The other thing about being green or having green buildings is you get better valuation on your building. And it makes a difference. So for example, this is for a commercial property. There's a gap of close to 25 to 35% for office buildings. Of course, this is 2022 data. When you have a green certification. Yeah? And lastly, on data, why we need to collect data, and Patrick has talked about that. Look at all the reporting, regulations, and standards that we need to comply. Without data, we are unable to report this, and if we can't report under this framework, we can never achieve, the desired intention of telling our stakeholders what you are doing. And the new standards accountants like standards, right? So Patrick talked about 2 new standards, which is the International Sustainability Standards. 2 new standards on disclosure on climate change, which will be effective in 2024. And globally, most countries adopt IFRS for their reporting. And therefore, it becomes important for companies to collect the data to report under these new standards. It becomes a requirement. Yeah. So I'll leave you with these thoughts. Green premiums are probably temporary. I mean, we're talking about being sustainable, let's having premiums on being green. But it's probably temporary if you look at it 5-10 years down the road. But what you need to know is that if you have a brown building or brown discount, this is forever. Yeah? So I'll leave you that thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Soo-Kim. That's great. And that idea of following the money, there's not always a linkage between sustainability and finance, but clearly you made the case for that, so that's great. So on to Carlota. Please, Carlota, take it away.
Thank you. I want to introduce a little bit myself. I was been in Hotelbeds 6 months ago, more or less. And when I started my studies in the university, I studied communication and marketing. I remember one sentence all my teacher says me is, all the things you don't communicate never doesn't exist, no? And after more than 10 years working in the sustainability world, I arrived to the conclusion that all the actions, all the things you do, if you don't take care about the data, doesn't exist. And thank you, GSTC, for inviting us to participate in this panel. It's a pleasure for us to be able to do a bit to improve the sustainability and make the travel industry a force for good. First of all, before I start, I would like to request one thing of you. Close your eyes for a moment. In 2019, Tourist Active has a world emitted 665 million tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. This represents the 8% of total emissions. 1.4 million of tourists who moves around the world before the pandemic. We generate more than 35 million tons of plastic, and for example, in the Mediterranean in particular, the marine waste increased by up to 40% in the high season. You can open the eyes another time. Thank you. It's impressive that, and it's possible for the travel sector to continue to grow, but with less negative impact on the planet and more impact on the society. The first step is between the people who are here. As Lucy said this morning, now we are here more than 350 people from many different countries ready to improve the situation and to make a change. Thank you all for this. What is Hotelbeds? We are a B2B company in the tech travel sector with a mission to connect the global travel ecosystem from accommodation, transport, activities and payments providers to a local and global brands, an empowered choice for partners and travelers worldwide. This is our data, and here you can see the views of Hotelbeds in numbers. For example, we have more than 3,100 properties in our platforms, more than 500 car rental suppliers, and 60,000 experience. We work with more than 64,000 retail travel agencies, 100,000 individual travel bookers, and more than 4,500 tour operators. Our workforce is growing, and we are over than 3,500 employees. I know this KPI is from the fiscal year 22. Of more than 86 different nationalities. The 57% are women, and we are the 43% of women in the leadership positions. We believe in the volunteering as the basics for transmitting the sustainability values to our employees. That is the reason why In 2022, we carried out more than 4,500 hours of volunteering. We take care of our planet, although our direct impact is very smaller because we are a B2B company. We don't have directly properties, for example, and we are carbon neutral in Scope 1 and 2, and we try with our Green Hotels program to help improve the sustainability in our stakeholders. We also offset our emissions with our forest. And how is our ESG strategy? After a pandemic, after a war, and all the instability of the war in these last years, we are now in the process to refreshing our strategy, but it's focused in 3 pillars, like the ESG acronym says, the environment, the social, and the governance. But our key point, following the objective of the United States, is the 17, partnership to achieve the goals, is our make the difference, because use our strategic position in the industry to influence, create alliance, and support our stakeholders in their ESG journey is the thing that makes the difference in our company. How is the data help to make the difference in a B2B company? No, for in one hand, the regulatory compliance. In the another is to help our stakeholders to grow in a work of the sustainability, and the last one to predict trends and help to make strategic decisions. Let's go a more detail of that. When we talk about the regulations, okay, there are more and more reporting requirements in the different countries where we operate, because it's the only way to make an intangibles to tangibles and demonstrate the real performance of a company on a non-financial level. When I start in Hotelbeds, the first thing I do is put order in the reporting, because I think for me it's the most important. With the boom of the certification, I think it's super complex to choose the best one, no? The best one or the more useful for your company, like the criteria as well. We are currently carrying out a material assessment in order to adapt our reporting and meet 3 objectives. The first one is arrive to the expectation of our stakeholders. The second objective is comply with the existing and future regulations, and the third objective is align the future vision of ESG in Hotelbeds, choosing the right certification. Reporting helps us to get away from greenwashing and to communicate our must accompany. As I say, the data also help us to collaborate with our value chains in the sustainability growth on the travel industry. Our Green Hotels program, we are evolving into a large concept to sustainability, because green, when you think in green, you think only in the environment, and that no is. Yes, this is certification, take in mind the 3 pillars of the sustainability. We have more than 37,000 properties in this program, and for enter in the program, you need to demonstrate a high quality of certification, using, for example, like GSTC certification. For this group of hotels, we carry out a specific marketing campaigns that have on over our rights return more than the 12%. In the normal marketing campaigns, we are talking the normal is between the 3 and the 6%. That makes sense because sustainability is more than a trend. Then throughout our marketing campaign focus to improve the sustainability in our properties. For example, we create some specific campaigns for help our properties to grow in the sustainability way. For example, for eliminate the one single-use plastic, for create spaces with universal accessibility, or for arrive to the zero waste. In this graph, you can see the performance of the green hotels, which is more higher than the no green. That it's another thing more to demonstrate the sustainability. No, it's a trend. Arrive here for stay here for a long time. And then I think it's super important is use our position to create synergies between our value chain to meet common objectives. For example, 2 weeks ago, we organized a hackathon for collaborating the transition of a circular economy in the Balearic Island with the collaboration of 7 different companies. I believe that the co-creation, that is a personal approach, and the collaboration are a must of the future in sustainability. When we are more, probably we work better, and we, for sure, generate more impact. What else can the data offer us, no? For one side, helps to validate the sustainability is here to stay. As you can see in the first graphic, our marketing campaigns for sustainable product increase more than the 50% than the rest of the campaigns. And in the last 12 months, the 30% of the properties booked in our platforms are from the Green Hotels program and from the rest. And then, in the other hand, it helps to predict the trends. For example, in the second graphic, you can see, in the third graphic, you can see that the stationality in Mallorca is growing. And in this year, the people travel more around all the year. That helps to prepare the properties, the activities, and don't lost effort, for example, no? And for another part, the data can also help us to guide the final traveler to deslocalize the tourist, because I think one of the more big problem of the actually tourist sector is that when you go in some place, you see a lot of people, and probably this place don't have this capacity for these people, you know. You arrive to a beach, it's impossible to stand a towel, no? And with the data and with the correct technology, you can probably help to degeolocalize the people and split the people in another points. Okay, for one part, you help to grow some communities, more rural communities, that probably no are very tourist spots. And for another way, you make more happy the traveler to be more alone in a places. And with that, I end. I hope that all of us in this room with small actions can make the difference and be a force for good in the travel sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlota. And it's interesting that 2019, we were all, we're back to 2019 for volume, but of course we're also back to 2019 for tourism is overcrowding. So suddenly the criticism has gone with the increase in volume. So that was a very astute point. Thank you. And now Takashi, please take the stage.
Hello everyone. So I'm Takashi. So I'm a Chief Marketing Officer of Rakuten Travel. So Rakuten Travel is the travel sector called Rakuten Group. So someone in this, I think, room already knew our brand name. For example, the chest of the FC Barcelona's or Golden State Warriors in NBA's. So if you knew our brand name on such kind of sponsorship, it's my pleasure. So one question for everyone. So have you ever been to Japan personally? Great, thank you very much. And have you the plan to visit Japan? Okay, thank you very much. So 8 Japanese, I think, people is attending this table. Not only the Rakuten, but also some of the Japan companies. So if you have anything about not only sustainability context, but also your private travel, so please contact me. Okay, so let me start my presentations. So, so the first, I think, slide. So let me introduce who we are, Rakuten Travel. So Rakuten Travel is one of the largest OTAs in Japan. So we are listing 40,000 Japanese accommodations, including hotels, including Ascott hotels, and ryokans, or onsen, ryokan, such kind type hotels, ryokan or accommodations. And about the reviews, the 12.6 million App rating 4.6. The monthly active user of our Rakuten Travel app is #1 scale in Japan, and number of monthly active users #1. So in short, we are the largest online travel agency in Japan, and 1/5 of all Japanese travelers is using our Rakuten Travel for their travel in business travel context or leisure or private travel context. Okay, so according to our survey to Japanese travelers about sustainability, so we have 3 issues. The first one is about traveler side. The travelers were not well informed about sustainability initiatives, about accommodations and destinations. So according to our survey, the 50% of Japanese users have some of the awareness about sustainability. But the information of the initiatives of sustainability of the hotels, of the destinations, so user can very hard to find. Such are first issues. And next one is even if accommodations have sustainability initiatives, so there is no place to inform the initiatives to the users. That is the second issue. And the last ones, the accommodations. Some of the accommodations want to start the actions or initiatives of the sustainability, but don't know where to start. So these 3 issues the Japanese sustainable tourism has. So to solve these 3 issues, so Rakuten Travel started the new initiative from last winters called Sustainability Icons and Sustainability Travel Patch on this slide. So let me introduce Sustainability Icons first. So on this icon system, the user can choose the hotels or Japanese ryokan accommodations based on the 41 sustainability efforts for 8 categories. 8 categories consist of waste, water resources, energies, natural environment, food, tradition or history, diversity, and regional contribution industries. And thanks for support of GSTC, we made these 41 sustainability options. And we introduced these 41 initiatives as a standard of Rakutens to the hotels. And the hotel input the data on our extranet, and we show these initiatives on the hotel pages of Rakuten Travel. So by these icons, the users have lots of options to select the hotel by filtering. So this is a sustainability icons. And second one, sustainability travel badge. So hotels and ryokans that fulfill the criteria that made by Rakuten originally obtain sustainable travel badge that has a 1 or 2 star stages. The user can narrow the filter the search results with hotel list by filtering the first stairs or single stairs or double stairs to find the best sustainability hotels on their list. Sorry. Okay. And at this moment, 5,000 Japanese accommodations out of 40,000 accommodations on our Rakuten Travel total is using this icon system. And this is a data of top 10 and worst 10 items. The first 1 to 3 is about waste or water resources. Approximately over 70% of Japanese accommodations already started some of the initiatives in this field. For example, about waste, rank number 1. So providing only the minimum required number of these disposable amenities. Secondly, about water resources, the providing the options for multi-night guests for refuse daily cleaning services. And the third one, so about waste, so refraining from providing bath amenities like shampoo, soap, that are good for only one use. So this is the top 3. And worst 10. So let me focus on rank number 38, now 39, 40 about food. At this moment, so many non-Japanese traveler is coming to Japan. But unfortunately, the diversity or the options of the food, the sample some of the country is very limited by Japanese accommodation. For example, providing the vegan menus, providing halal menu, such kind of option, the hotel do not have so much. This kind of data is very important, of course, for me, but for example, for government of Japan. So if such kind of data is more open to the public, so we can do many, many things. Okay. And this 1, 2, 3, a reduction of waste, reduction of water use for excessive washing, and thirdly, local food offering is a top 3 demand side, the user side demand. And green bar is a related action from hotel side. But about 1 over 2 demand and supply action is almost matched. This is a good thing. But for example, third one, local food offering. So Japanese travelers want local food when he or she visits some of the destinations. Unfortunately, the hotel do not enough to provide the Japanese local food to travelers. So this is a mismatch of the demand and supply. Such kind of data we can understand now. And this is the last slide, the future trend. Of course, the sustainability effort in accommodation is very, very important. We already knew that. But according to the survey, the first priority of traveler is not sustainability at this moment, unfortunately. Price of the hotel, for example, and the service quality of the hotel, this is the first priority. Secondly, sustainability efforts comes at this moment. So the important thing is a balance of top demand and the sustainability actions. So I will not concrete, I think, answer about these questions, but let's, I think, fix these big issues or challenges together. Thank you very much.
We're one microphone down, so Takashi and I will be passing the microphone between us. So should we go straight to Slido? I think there's some really interesting questions coming up. And I'm going to start off with a question from Coco, which is, I'm going to direct it first to Külli and to Siew Kim, which is, what are the challenges to collect data from the value chain? You know, both from your hotel owners, from all your stakeholders. What are the challenges, and how do you go about it?
For us, as we are seeing it from at the government level, then we don't see challenges as technology is there. So we have proven that it is possible to collect standardized real-time data, but the main challenge for us, I see, is how we can change the mindset of companies. We have done it in public sector. All of Estonian authorities are on board with the real-time economy, but with companies it's not that easy. For example, last year we tried to open the debate with travel companies, how we could automate package travel directive information and also use it with a viability index, which could give AI information and recommendations for companies. But companies refused it. We saw a very strong opposition from companies because there were a lot of afraid, and they were kind of thinking that someone will come into their data, but it's not the case. Real-time economy won't change who is the data belongs, but only the data itself. So now we are continuing with awareness raising activities very actively.
So just to continue on that, Sean is asking here, what real-time data do you actually share with your partners, with the private sector? What's the raw data that you're sharing?
For us, we are sharing data what concerns taxes, as we have piloting the taxes reporting. There is wage taxes, there are VAT taxes online soon. So the idea is that when the softwares of companies are sharing data with our public sector, then companies also get back the value of the data. So otherwise, it always has been that a statistic of Estonia or a tax board is asking different reports, but you never get feedback or you never get data back. So this is the idea that we can actually give value for the data with this process.
Thank you. And I'm going to put the same question to Siew. Siew, what are the challenges to your side?
Okay, so from my context, I'm collecting data as a hotel operator. So we have 900 properties in our portfolio. We are operating in 40 different countries, and you can imagine the challenge of getting data from everyone on that. So for me, we have to collect data on energy, on water, on waste, on procurement, on community. So it's varied data that we need to collect. And challenges, I would maybe classify into maybe three types. One is, of course, data quality. I think Patrick has talked about that. You can have the same instruction to the people, but you may probably get different result because people interpret the requirement differently. So data quality is one thing. And of course, standardization, making sure that everyone reports the same kind of information in the way that we understand it to be. So data quality is one. Second, I would say is technologies. Getting everyone to submit their data on the relevant technology or platform. That's another challenge I think we have to deal with, because you can collect lots of data and you don't want, especially for me, I don't want all my information on Excel, right? You want it on a database that people can access it easily and plot it in a way on a dashboard that you can analyze. So a system, technologies is important. And of course, having the right system to do that is important. And third, I would say, and align with her, is stakeholder engagement. Getting people to want to provide the data in a manner that they don't think that it is an extra job for them. So in the past, when you want your people to submit data to you, they'll think that, it's corporate asking for information. And we have been collecting data for more than 10 years, yeah? And we still make mistakes, I'm sorry, yeah, but So we've been collecting data for 10 years. And in the past, people will think that, I have to do this because corporate asks us to. But we are changing the mindset of people that when you submit this data, it is important, from the sustainability point of view. And getting people buy-in in submitting the data to you, I think is important. So I would say that these are three challenges and how we will overcome it.
Thank you very much. And I've got a question of my own, but I'm going to combine it with the top question here from Patrice. It really, I'm going to put this one both to Carlota and to Takashi. These businesses have scale. I think the number of travel agents you have is about 65,000 coming into your business. So you have huge ability to influence. You've got 1 in 5 Japanese travelers traveling with Rakuten, which is incredible. So there's an unbelievable ability to influence both consumers and small businesses. So how in that case can the industry bridge that gap between what the data that you're collecting and how the SMEs who have no resources, your SME clients or suppliers who have little resources, how do you bridge that gap and empower them to get the data to change mindset? So I'm going to start off with you, Carlota.
I think the key are two things. The first one is the education, because I think we need to educate not only the companies and the small business of the sector of travel, you know, the traveler as well, no? Because one way to verify the information is arriving to the travel final, no? And the travel final can say, see, is really can we have one single-use plastic free or not? But for another way, I think we need to help the small societies to translate in a more easy language the KPIs we need for help them to have this information. But here we have a very big problem because I think a lot in that. We have some conversations with Booking as well, and it's the verification of this data, no? Because if you create this project to help the small companies to make the data, you need to verify this information, and that you need more resources in your teams. You put a lot of effort. And the only possibility I think now is share this effort with the big companies, because you share this effort, you dissolve the budget for that and the resources for that. But yeah, it's a cultural change, and I think the pillar of that is the education, and that's it.
Takashi, I'm going to hand the microphone to you.
So as I mentioned in my presentations, the 50% of Japanese travelers is awareness about sustainability. He or she wants to do something, but unfortunately, the 30% of this 50% user is well informed about sustainability. It means that the gap about this sustainability information exists. And as OTAs, as you mentioned, so we have the strong powers that connect the demand and supply. And we have the lots of data from the users. The users want something. And the missions or role of Rakuten Travel, like OTA, is the providing the data of demand to the suppliers, hotels. This distribution of the data change the behavior of the hotel. That makes, I think, good, sustainability, world, I believe. So this is the answer to your questions.
And I'm going to hand the microphone back because you talked about data verification. There's a question here from Katrine which says, at Rakuten Travel, are badges and icons self-assessed or externally confirmed? So that validation question.
I think a good questions. Self-assessed is answers. So I'm not sure self-assessed is a good or bad, but my opinion is on our Rakuten Travel platform, the user can, put the user review after checking out the hotels. So if, for example, the data of the hotel inputted is incorrect, maybe the user can make bad review to hotels. So this bad review or review system is the keeping good conditions of our data. That is answers.
Thank you. We're going to move on to just questions about other stakeholders now. And I'm going to put this one to Sue Kim, which is, I think 20% of your properties are owned, and then you've got a lot of managed properties. Those pesky owners who have to make all of the investments. Yeah, how do you manage them? How do you get them on board with your journey?
So 20% of our portfolio is owned by us. So what that means is also we are able to influence the decisions that we want to make on our own assets, and therefore we have the opportunity to, put in place the right sustainability kind of initiatives, the right green certification that we want on our own buildings, and test out and prove to the owners that it works. And there is operational efficiency, there is cost savings, the payback works. And through that, our own data, our own analysis, we are able then to convince the owners that, hey, this works. So I would say that, from our perspective, it's a lot easier to convince the owners because we have our own data to show and explain to them why it's important for them to do, be it the building green certification or the lodging certification, be it GSTC or anything else. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Okay, what else have we got here? Panel, how is your organization leveraging AI to further your sustainability efforts? So any thoughts on AI from the panel? You look as about to
Yes.
give some thoughts.
We are developing two different tools. First of all, it is a business viability index, which is using AI to analyze and assess the company's economic situation and also give feedback. And then there is another tool, it's a sustainability reporting tool, which is an international pilot project to see how is it possible to develop the digital solution aligned with ESG taxonomy for enterprises. So we are trying to use AI as much as possible in our pilot projects.
Excellent, thank you. And another question from me. I talked a little bit earlier about how much sustainability is now being used as a competitive issue. Carlota, is this coming into your algorithms? Are you favouring suppliers or distributors who now fit in with your own sustainability goals? Is there something that Beds is doing on that?
Yeah, we are creating now a pilot in Balearic Island. We are creating a group of sustainability for shared good practice and projects and for help between us. Because, for example, in the last urgency in Turkey and Syria, we collect 14 pallets of clothes in Mallorca, and we need to move to Spain, no? For travel that is to Turkey and to Syria as well. And we have a problem, because in my mind, never imagine that all the employees bring 14 pallets of clothes in the office. And for example, in that moment, see, we have this group, we can share, and probably, I don't know where, Balearic is a transfer company, help us to do that, no? And probably, it's our actions, it's both action, no? And a real case is in Ukraine, for example, we put in contact with all of our clients, and they help them to create a group night for Ukrainian, and we have 600 rooms for Ukrainian people to help them. And probably if we don't start this movement, we don't arrive because we don't have properties as well. And I think it's that, no? Our role in the sustainability is intent to create community and create effort together.
Great, thank you. So just talking of community, one of the key areas that we also look at is economic leakage. How much of local purchasing is staying within the country and how much is moving outside. I'm going to put this one to Siew Kim and Külli. First, Siew Kim, how are you measuring economic leakage in your purchases?
Okay, so as part of our Ascott Cares program, there is a pillar called community. And if you look at GSTC criteria, community is a big part of sustainable tourism and lodging operator. And we set targets on what we want to achieve in that pillar, and that includes, of course, community engagement, and we also have a pillar that talks about procurement, supply chain, and we have set target on how much we want to do procurement for locally. Having said that, it all depends on the location of the property, on the country. If you're operating in a country that imports everything, like in Singapore, we can't have everything locally produced, right? So we set criteria, set targets for our properties to work towards as much as possible to support the community in their procurement. If not, then how do they source otherwise? So as much as possible, we will do that, set the guidelines, and work towards it. Yeah.
Great, and Giannis is there somewhere. I think Six Senses gave a very good answer to this. They said, in Oman it's really difficult because so much stuff is imported, but it really does depend on geographies about how much we can source locally. Külli, thoughts from an Estonia side?
The quick answer would be that we don't measure economic leakage, but as a concept of real-time economy, we are building so that we are building technological cornerstones. And if we have appropriate data, then we can measure whatever is important for the country. So we see that tourism is a very hot topic right now in Estonia after all this crisis. And also we are trying to understand what is the impact of tourism in Estonia. So this would be a very good idea to put as a pilot, another pilot in real-time economy team to see, is it possible and can we do it real-time? So good idea.
Thank you. We'll watch this space. So Takashi, you said around community, you said most of the things the Japanese are looking for are environmental, less so on the community side. I think your regional contribution icon or criteria probably was one of the lowest ranked. Do you just not see this as important from a Japanese perspective, from an Asian perspective? What do you think?
At this moment, according to our survey, as you mentioned, the top, I think, level of the interest of the Japanese travelers about sustainability context is regarding environment. For example, waste at the destinations, or big food loss, or too much services by hotel, but such kind of thing is a top priority with the interest of the users at this moment. And secondly, for example, some of the intention of the local communities or some of the local food or such kind of actions is listed. But this is my personal opinions. So in the futures, the initiatives about environment by the hotel would be the standard. It means a must-do actions. So we need to think about the next, about must-do, and as OTAs or travel agencies missions, the important thing is how to make each of the destinations hotel to be more characteristic places. And for example, so in the lunch with you and Siew, so we are talking about the ski spot in Japan. And most of the non-Japanese travelers is visiting, for example, Niseko ski in Hokkaido. What Japan has more, I think, good ski spot, like you mentioned, Nozawa Onsen skiing. We have lots of options, but unfortunately, travelers does not aware such kind of another options. The important role of us is to disclose the good option to the users and giving them more options. That kind of the diversity of the option makes the more, I think, standard, travel environment, I believe.
So I'm going to just talk a little bit more about our lunch. We also talked about some of the rural depopulation that's happening in Italy and Spain, in the villages that are really now empty. And we were actually saying that the same thing is happening often in Japan. Is there any way that Rakuten can actually contribute towards that reversal of rural depopulation and some of those beautiful cultural buildings in rural Japan, reverse that trend of depopulation?
Yes, correct. Yeah. So everyone, so not only visit popular spot to Japan, but rural spot, local spot of Japan. We have lots of options. We can lots of recommendation to you. So please contact us.
So we got another question from Coco here, which says some of the data might be easy to collect, such as carbon emissions. Some are probably not, such as social-related issues. Are there any practical ways to do that? So I'm going to throw that out to Carlota. What do you think? Practical ways to collect socially related environmental data points.
2 weeks ago, when we do this hackathon with younger people, they propose a very good idea to collect the data. I think our problem is in the scope 3, of course, because I told you, we don't have too much directly impacting the environment. Probably our megagems of data. Now we are working to compensate these emissions as well. But is our value chain, no? Is the data of our hotels, is the data of our transfers, of the airlines, and I think for that, probably in the future, not only we need the certification for putting our those programs, probably we need the specific data of all the consumption of all our value chain. Probably is a little bit utopic now, but is my goal in the future.
And do you worry about that? This massive value chain that you have. You said you measure your scope 1 and 2. One day you're going to have to measure your scope 3 and declare it. 65,000 travel agents, 500,000 plus hotels. How are you going to do it?
I hope that these suppliers and this value chain reduce a lot the carbon footprints, and for that my carbon footprint is less, because compensate all these emissions could be impossible. And because our forest, for example, no is a forest. Probably it's like the Amazonas one, But I think it's an issue in the few years for the taxonomy and our company, for example, we use inversors, and probably our inversors needs response, about what is all our carbon footprint in all of our value chain. And that's it. I think probably in the future we need more data of our value chain, and that I don't know the way.
And Sue Kim, does that keep you awake at night? That one day you're going to have to account for every traveller visiting your properties, account for their flight in your carbon footprint?
We are working towards that. So scope 1, scope 2 is something a lot easier to collect. We all know that. Scope 3 is something that we're working towards, and of course. As a group, lucky thing for me is I'm part of a big group, it's CapitaLand Investment. We have been reporting sustainability for more than 10, 20 years because it's a requirement under Singapore Stock Exchange for us to do sustainability reporting. So we've been collecting data. Of course, we have also committed to a net zero target in accordance with the science-based target, but scope 3 is not yet committed on our part. So we are in the process of engaging and working with consultants to go through the whole process of collecting our, and calculating our scope 3 emission as well. So yes, we are working on it, and it doesn't, keep me awake at night yet, but we have to get there because we have to report under ISSB scope 3. So it is coming to us faster than we think. So I hope I don't get nightmare after this.
So we're fast moving towards the end of the session. I'm going to ask one last question that's coming up here from Anonymous. How does Hotelbeds plan to collect the data to analyse the impacts of sustainable practices? Sorry, I got mixed up. How does Hotelbeds assure itself that non-certified hotels have standards equal or better to the requirements of...
Until now, only we have 2 exceptions, and these 2 exceptions are a very big companies of hotels. They has a lot of properties. One of them is between the 80 and the 90% of properties certificated. For us, we consider it is enough volume for stay in the program. And for sure, we say this company sent to us some ESO they has, another certification they has, the human rights policies, the ESG policies, and that well. And yes, it's completely manual. We check for myself and with my team the data of these 2 clients. Yeah.
So we're fast coming towards a close. 10 seconds each of you. One data point that you think is going to be critical for progressing our journey on sustainability in the next 5 years. Külli, let's start with you. One data point that you think will really hit home and matter.
I think mostly matters that the climate generation is there, and this is actually gives us the speed and everything. So it's there.
So Kim, to you, your top data point.
Same. Carbon emission is the greatest contributor, and scope 3 is something that's still unknown. So I would go for that. Yeah.
Carlota?
Yeah, the impact
Yeah.
of the value
Oh
chain.
no, everyone's going to agree. Same.
Yeah.
This is the nightmare of the panel. Takashi, say something different. Say economic leakage. Great. Okay, I want to please put your hands together once again for our panel. Thank them all. Thank you, panel. And I've been strictly told by the GSTC team to give a little bit of logistical information that tonight we are all going to gather to leave for the host dinner at 6:30 down in reception. So come a few minutes early, please. And we shall see you then at the wonderful host dinner that we are having, provided by Türkiye. And tomorrow morning, the session will start